Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today we're discussing a 2005 launch from the Omega Speedmaster Legend collection. We have this Michael Schumacher themed Speedmaster Automatic. Now, of course, the Legend collection came out after Michael's 7th title, his final and his 5th consecutive with Ferrari. The three watches had black, silver, and red dials, and of course, given the association of Schumacher and Scuderia Ferrari, I would absolutely recommend this is the one you aim for, as it has the most charisma, the most color, and the most visual impact. It's also the most obviously influenced by Schumacher's history with the most famous team in auto racing. So, given how much I love it, let's talk about how it fits me. It's 42 millimeters in diameter in steel, 14.1 millimeters thick, 53 millimeters from end link to end link, because it does have solid end links. If we're just talking the lugs, not the end links, then it is a case 48.5 millimeters across the wrist with a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, of course, Schumacher is famed as the first to get to 7 titles. Lewis Hamilton later matched him, but almost no one recalls 1994 and 1995 with Benetton. So when you ask people about Michael Schumacher, the world champion, they're going to mention the red cars. And this watch has a lot more personality on the wrist than the silver and the black dials. And in fact, it sets it apart better from other Moonwatch model Speedmasters in a way that gives it its own unique identity, even at a glance. Now, it's a big watch, but it's not a huge watch. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, I'd say the watch wears just fine. So if your wrist is, let's say, 15 centimeters circumference or larger, you're going to find this wears well. It's not a thin watch, and it does have a little bit of overlapping bezel. You can see it's sort of an outcropping, so it'll get hung up on the tightest of dress shirt cuffs, but you should be fine with jacket sleeves, no problems there. The watch has a bracelet that is sort of a hybrid of a dress bracelet and a sports bracelet. You can see how these links sort of have a little bit of tumble home towards the edge, plus these polished intermediates giving something of a dressy look, though it is primarily a 3-link design, similar in some regards to a Rolex Oyster. But again, there's just a little bit of formality injected by the shape and the polished intermediates. You can see outboard the links are polished, and back in 2005, Omega was still using pin sleeves for sizing bracelets, so you will need a block and a punch to size this at home, though you'll note you have quite a few removable links, so you're probably going to find the right size easily. And if you don't, if you're in between sizes, there are 2 different stations here where you can move the spring bar inside the clasp, change the anchoring point to fine-tune the fit. The clasp is a great piece, very thick gauge steel. It's got a twin trigger release, and it's very similar to the Diver 300 meter clasp, with the exception that it does not have the fold-out dive extension. But in terms of structural integrity and solidity, it is on par with the dive watch. Now, the case size and shape is similar to the Moonwatch, though as an automatic, it's a very different kind of timepiece. We have the famed lyre-style lugs with the inward bevel and the outward bevel. We've seen them on Speedmasters and Seamasters since the first half of the 1960s. We have the sort of crown guard profile where there's a little bit of shouldering of the chronograph pushers in the crown to avoid shearing, and then a metal tachymetric scale with lacquered characters. You could see a vaulted sapphire that's got a little bit of a look of a vintage plexi and that evocative matte red, and it really is a very cool sort of matte red. It's something that is different from the Ferrari race cars, because those are gloss, and this is not Rosso Corsa. In fact, the Ferrari race cars are not Rosso Corsa, which is the Italian racing red, but that's got strong undertones of orange. This is more of a Marlboro red, as the Ferraris, once prolifically sponsored by tobacco, have more or less kept that racing red as the car color and the team color through the years, and that's exactly what we have right here. Now, it is a tritone, but whereas a traditional tritone chronograph would be a combination of silver dominant with smaller amounts of black and only accents of red, here red is dominant. Black is the secondary, and then silver-white is the tertiary color. You can also see the dial's a little bit different from most Speedmasters because, hey, we've got a date. It's automatic winding, it is a chronometer, it is not a coaxial, which from a durability and service standpoint, I find to be a bit of a bonus, since these conversion coaxials early on, where you take an existing movement and you add the coax, they weren't always as durable as the later purpose-built coaxials or the prior movements that were conventional Swiss levers. So this is a conventional Swiss lever. This movement is is the Omega 3301, which is based on the Frederic Piguet 1285, which is a bigger, more durable, and more capable version of the Blancpain Frederic Piguet 1185. So you get features that the 1185 doesn't have, like hacking seconds, for example. And you get features that the Moonwatch doesn't have, like a quick set date. Also, you've got a vertical clutch coupling, so the engagement of the chronograph seconds hand is absolutely without extraneous movement. And if you wish, you can leave it running full time because there's no additional wear and tear when you're operating a vertical clutch chronograph system. Now, there's also a column wheel, also unlike the Moonwatch, so the actuation is quite crisp. The movement has a 52 to 55 hour power reserve, automatic winding. It's a 4 Hz beat rate. Now, it is a column wheel, vertical clutch, automatic, stop second, quick set, 55 hour, Swiss lever, chronometer certified, high-end chronograph movement. 5 position adjusted. The movement does go through the COSC process and receive the chronometer certification. You'll have to visualize it underneath a solid caseback, which features Michael Schumacher, the Legend Collection, in a lovely Ferrari lacquered red. So a very dramatic aesthetic on the caseback. Michael Schumacher juxtapositioned next to the hippocampus, or the seahorse. People often ask, why is there a Seamaster horse on the back of Speedmaster? And it's because back in 1957, the Speedmaster, which was water resistant, debuted as part of the Seamaster collection back when every Omega that was water resistant was in some way linked to the Seamaster. So that is what the collection is all about. The movement's 33 joules, and I want to say it's about 27 millimeters in diameter. The timepiece is 100 meters water resistant too, so unlike a Moonwatch, which is 50 meters, you can actually take this one swimming. So, if you are a Michael Schumacher fan, a Ferrari fan, or you just want a Speedmaster that is not like the others, reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details. Ah yes, one last note. I wouldn't leave you hanging. This watch is well loomed, including the chronograph seconds hand.